Hello, welcome to today's edition of Weather to Watch. This is a review of the lower 48 over the next week or even 2 weeks, just kind of giving you a heads up on what's important to be looking out for weather-wise. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's take a look, first of all, on this Monday afternoon, the 13th of July. Visible satellite loop showing a whole lot of nothing in the Central Plains and the northern plains. Really good reason for that, by the way. We see an increase in cloud activity and speed up here in Canada. That's going to be important for Tuesday up in New England. I'll get more into that. We have showers and thunderstorms in the southeast, but increasingly Texas is going to be coming under the gun for more heavier precipitation over the next several days, especially one particular part of Texas. So this is the 500 millibar flow overlaid on top of that satellite image, and you can see there's a weak trough of low pressure right here. But in summer, a weak trough is more than enough to get afternoon showers and thunderstorms bubbling up quite readily. Generally speaking, they're not severe. Sometimes when they collapse, they produce a wind gust, but they're more noted for their heavy downpours more than anything else. And again, this part of Texas here there's a trough of low pressure at the surface, and that's going to initiate a lot of rain. Meanwhile, this is that big upper level record high breaking ridge that is sitting over the northern plains, complete opposite of what's going on in the northeast with that little trough of low pressure. So let's take a look at this. At 3 o'clock on Monday, we had Bismarck at 101 degrees, Rapid City at that same value, and Salt Lake City was very close to 100 as well, and a whole slew of 90s. Here in the UP of Michigan, you don't really see temperatures usually that hot, but 99 degrees there. So not surprisingly, the heat warnings continue for just about all of Minnesota, the UP, a chunk of Wisconsin, all of North Dakota, circling all the way back to Salt Lake City. They've had some records. Also a little hotter on Los Angeles, down to San Diego. And then heat advisories, which is the lesser of the two, in effect for all that kind of orange area there, including much of the Northeast, but not all of it. And Michigan, kind of on the edges of where the heat warning is. So this is Monday. So what happens today is the EPS weeklies come out. This is just an average of the 500 millibar flow for the next 7 days, and it's an ensemble, so it's a mean of a mean. So it's just the next 7 days, plus it's the average of all the runs of this model combined. So it starts today, goes through Sunday. So the 500 millibar flow is abnormally high. That's the colors here, and the ridge is the high pressure area is right there. So at least for the next 7 days, and again, this is an average. So toward the end of this is starting to break down already. I'll show you that later on. But that is going to be defining where the heat sits. And as a matter of fact, we can just take a look at the same model and now switch to temperature abnormalities. And you can see a lot of above normal temperatures from Pennsylvania, New York, all the way through the Great Lakes states into Minnesota, the Dakotas, and back into Wyoming. Note that it's going to be cooler, way cooler actually, through the panhandle of Texas, parts of New Mexico, and in the Arizona area. This is the monsoon flow that sets up this time of year. It does a couple of things. It spikes precipitation and cools temperatures. So notice that the abnormal amount of rainfall expected in Texas down into Old Mexico there and in parts of Arizona. So monsoon flow could be moisture that comes up from the Pacific, but oftentimes, especially when there's a big ridge of high pressure here, keep in mind that most of the United States is most of the year is expecting to see 500 millibar winds flowing from west to east roughly. When the high is this far north, these winds are going this way down here, so they're bringing in a lot of Gulf moisture in the Texas. Sometimes that combines with the Pacific too, and just really puts the dew points really high. Thunderstorms that form can often produce a lot of gusty winds and some torrential rains. Here's the general weather map for tomorrow, Tuesday. The frontal systems here. We have kind of a stalled front in the southern plains here, and also that trough of low pressure in Texas. That's what's going to kick up the rain, and a weak front that really has, at this time, no place to go. So hot temperatures continue in the northern plains, but that eventually will change. And you can see scattered rain and thunderstorms in all the areas, kind of with the raindrops included. On the heavier side of things, 2 areas to note on Tuesday. This is a severe weather area here. I'll zoom in on that here in just the next slide. And then we have the flooding conditions here, as you might expect. I've been talking about this threat down here from Austin and Houston back over into the hill country and getting into the Rio Grande Valley. So let's take a look at that severe weather threat for Tuesday in Maine and New England. Pretty big. That's a level 3 out of 5 there for northern Maine and northern parts of Vermont. New Hampshire, a sliver of New York. This is expected to be a pretty severe weather event in Quebec and also Montreal, too, before it crosses the border. As far as breaking that down for tomorrow, the tornado threat is up to about a 5% risk. That's the brown of any strength tornado within 25 miles. And the Storm Prediction Center broke out the pen and drew in this area here, this striped area. This is their attempt at looking at percentage chance of intensity levels. So, yeah, when they do this, it still weighs very heavily on the tornado staying in the EF0 and also 1 category. But if you add up, this is 14, this is 5, this is 1. So you've got, a 20% chance basically of an EF2 or greater with maybe an EF2 somewhere in there. Wind is also a thing. This time of year, you get some supercells that might develop in that northwest flow, and then they'll congeal into a squall line. So the wind risk is, yes, with the individual cells, but I think more widespread once that congeals into a line of storms and descends upon parts of New England. So the heavy rain risk, switching gear down in Texas, and you can see here's San Antonio right here. So basically, they're in the slight, at least a 15% chance that flash flood guidance will be exceeded, meaning it'll rain enough for a flash flood warning. And then we have this moderate, at least 40% chance here from Del Rio north and northeastward a little bit. And that again is for Tuesday. For Wednesday, the temperature pattern doesn't change a whole lot. No relief yet. There is a front dropping down through New England, a little bit cooler air behind it. That's what's leading the charge on that severe weather Tuesday. We'll move through already by Wednesday. Still very hot in the Dakotas, still very hot in the Southwest. This front is not being encouraged to do anything because there's really nothing pushing it anywhere. And again, this trough of low pressure still hangs out in Texas, acting as a focus for more rain and storms. The rain and storm threat creeps northward through up into Missouri and the mid-Mississippi River Valley. It's still be raining behind the front and along it early Wednesday and through the day on Wednesday. A little bit more solid rain in Portland and Seattle. As far as severe weather Wednesday, not real widespread the way it looks now, but still this same area down here in Texas has a flood risk, and we'll zoom in on that. The heavy rain risk for Wednesday, again, moderate, at least a 40% chance in almost the exact same area. So something to watch out for. And the total precipitation forecast by the Weather Prediction Center for the next 5 days, if it's yellow, it's 4. We have some 5 and 6, maybe more inch totals right in that area. So it's an area to be watched for the next 5 days. As a matter of fact, if we go out to the 3 to 7 day forecast, so we're encompassing Thursday through Monday here, we have full monsoon mode from Tucson up to Phoenix, and even as far north as, well, not quite to Phoenix, but Tucson up to Flagstaff, areas of southeast Arizona. And then in that same area, this continues Thursday and Friday. The heat is all over the place. I had to break it into 3 graphs. So it's really only going to be a problem, I think, around northern Illinois, Indiana, and southern Wisconsin, Michigan through Thursday. And then it'll stop. Then Thursday through Saturday, it cuts off in the Dakotas a little bit. This area is Thursday through Sunday. And then hopefully there'll be a little bit of relief, and I'll show you why in a second. In the southwest, in the Salt Lake City area, Thursday and Friday is still hazardous heat problems there. And Sunday through Monday from Missouri down to Arkansas and just about to the Gulf Coast. And as you can see, it breaks down here as well through much of the eastern U.S. Now, let's go to week 2 and see what that EPS is looking like. And if you weren't paying attention, I'll just tell you, this is drastically different. Because this first week, there was a big old ridge right here, a big old high, and this is completely replaced beginning on the 20th, a week from today, and going 7 days after that, by a trough of low pressure, and a pretty substantial one, too, for this time of year. So the heat dome shifts into the southwest. This has a predictable effect on temperature, with much of the northern plains cooler, the northeast, and much of the eastern U.S. east of the Mississippi. So these are just above or below normal here for that period. And again, it's below normal here, not because that the ridge, is not being affected, but because of a lot of monsoon cloud and rain. So even though there is a ridge there, this part of it here is going to be experiencing a lot of that. So it'll just keep temperatures down. You can see the precipitation rate backs me up on that through much of the Intermountain region and through the Rockies. A little bit out east, it gets a little bit wetter through that period. Good news. So the extreme heat chances shift when that jet stream shifts to Kansas to Texas and all the way east to Florida and the Carolinas. We're still looking at the monsoon flow here in Arizona, New Mexico, parts of the high desert here in Colorado, and parts of Utah as well. And finally, and that's through the 21st through the 27th, and some heavy rain chances show up, a slight risk, both of those graphs, on the 21st through the 27th from southern Virginia down into eastern Georgia.